Hey guys, Simspace here, welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today I will be showing you the new shelf block Minecraft added in the latest beta preview on Bedrock Edition, or rather the one that came out last week. So here you go. So this is a oak shelf, and it's kind of like a vertical slab, which is what everyone's been calling it, and is the closest thing we're probably ever going to get to it. It's pretty similar, but it does have a pretty weird shape. You can put items into it, so if I grab a hotbar full of planks, get a couple of stacks too. If I put them in, you can see put some all in, and the full stacks as well. It's not just a singular item like an item frame. And if I grab the items from it, I can actually mix and match them just like that. And I can also grab another hotbar full, and if I go around the back, see I've got a little circuit lined up. So if I activate the lever, you can see that the little frames on them, the little bars in between the items, disappear when the redstone's activated. So I can use the wool and it swaps out the entire hotbar, which is really cool. And you see, if I mix and match the wool and the planks and then I activate it, I can swap out the entire hotbar like that, and it's really useful for when you're swapping build pallets. I've also made a lot of build ideas for this, which is what I'll be showing you. So here I've used a pale oak shelf to create a little like skirting board at the bottom of a wall. See how it sticks out a bit, which adds a little contrast, because beforehand we would have had to use a different block, for example quartz blocks, which doesn't really look nice and it doesn't stick out as much. So this looks really nice. And by here I've created a pool table. I've got some items on the side. I've got 4 red, 4 yellow, and then obviously the black ball. And here I've got the white ball and 3 queues, so like 2 and a spare one. Here I've got pillars, which is what people have been using them for mostly. They look really nice and they add a lot of foundation to it. And archways too, and if you mix and match them like this, they actually add a lot of detail. Where beforehand it would be pretty flat, which looks nice. You can see how the archway works. But if it was a full vertical slab, it would have actually worked like that, because it would be level with these stairs. Here I've created a couple of chimney designs, where beforehand we would have had to use a trapdoor. And also, if I grab a granite slab, you can also create a lid on them. It just adds a nice little shape, a little curve on the outside. And you can use regular bricks and mangrove, because they look like a brick shelf. And by here, which is another popular use I've been seeing, is for plant pots. They actually look really nice, especially the oak ones, because we never really had a block like this before, and usually we've had to use the trapdoors, but they look really flat. You can see by here we have a little curve which looks really nice, but with the trapdoors it's just a straight line, which doesn't look too good. Now by here I've created a little room, for example, of a shop. You can see I've used the shelves as, well, shelves, because beforehand we would have had to use stairs, which just doesn't look really good at all. If I set it up by here, oops, I'm messing a lot of blocks up by here, but you can see it's really thick and ugly, and if I wanted to make that double-sided like I have in the room, it looks horrible. And see, it's really thick and takes up a lot of room. But with the shelves, it's nice, so you get a lot of room to walk in between them, and you can actually put items in them, which is just a big plus. Let me just get rid of this. But yeah, it's so much better than it used to be. And by here I've created a little bedroom setup where I've used a spruce shelf as a room divider, which looks pretty nice. And I've used the dark oak ones for a little bed design. You can see on the sides by here I've used red stained glass as a little like trim for it, and it goes along both sides. And you can see if I actually grab a banner, you could create a headrest on it. So for example, if you're laying down, you won't hit your head on the wall. And by here I've created a little music disc record display using oak shelves, which looks really nice. But a more common use for these, which I'll be seeing everywhere, is just an alternate trapdoor design, because with like acacia or even just ugly ones like birch, you can't really get a proper thin wall like you could with spruce. Look, if I get them out, pale oak, dark oak, spruce, and I guess birch, if I place them down on the floor, oops, I messed that one up, you can see these aren't see-through. But if I grab one like acacia, you can actually see through it, which looks really ugly. But now we've got the shelves, which just work so much better. See how it is a little bit thicker, but I mean it works as a thin wall. And with birch it used to be fully white, but now you can get proper birch colour as a thin wall. And also with the oak trapdoor, which is more of a brownish colour, you can actually get this oak colour now, because it actually goes off of the stripped wood. If I get stripped oak, you can see it goes off of this colour, which is more accurate to the oak planks set, I guess. And you can see how this comes in every single wood type. If you go on the back, you get an alternate texture, which works really well. You see with wolf there's like a wave, the spikes for jungle, and the acacia and crimson have these little bars, and dark oak has little dots. Spruce has bolts on them, which looks really nice, similar to the trapdoors actually. And you can see also the design is on the top of the shelf as well, which looks really nice. And by here I've used these different designs to create little walls. They don't look too good from this side, but you can see I'm just using the shelves and using that design. And by here I've used them with the stripped wood, and I've added some buttons on top. It just looks really nice and be useful for hallways, especially in nether. I can see this being used in a lot of nether hubs. Now by here I've actually used them for barrels to contain like fish or ores. I've used, for example, before we would have had to use the spruce trapdoors, which is really straight and looks kind of weird. But with shells we can get a nice thicker outline, I guess. I've used gold, and then I've used iron to represent cod and copper to represent salmon. And over here I've used the pale oak ones with white glass inside for a display case for the new copper armor set. And next to it I have made a water dispenser machine using light blue and red concrete as like cold and hot temperature, using glass. Just don't use the lever because it kind of messes it all up. But you can see they have 3 slots, so I used that to make a slot machine. I've used a little simple chair design for it just so you can be level with the machine. And on the inside I've used banners all around. I've just used the warp shelf. If you have a look at the banners, actually, if I get it out, you can see it's a pretty easy design to make, but if you want to copy it, there it is, just pause it. And next to this I have made a little bar setup using the shelves as actual shelves. I've just put some potions inside as little drinks to show off, which is nice and so much better than item frames because you can show off more. And with the little bar chairs, I was originally going to use fences, but there's a glitch where they connect to shelves, so I didn't use it because I got shelves around the bar. And the same happens with like walls or glass and iron bars as well, so I just ended up using a lightning rod because it just works better. And the chair design is pretty simple overall. And here I've just made like a little fireplace campfire setup using mangrove shelves as a little brick rim, I guess, around the fireplace, because they're the closest thing we can really get to bricks in this shape. Because if I actually get the brick block out, there's nothing really like this with this colour and this shape, this texture I mean, but with the shelf it's actually really good. And over here I've used the shelves to separate actual shelves. There's little dividers between bookshelves, which looks really nice because they work as little dividers. If you're making a library you can separate categories easily. And next to that I've made a little bridge using the oak shelves as like banisters, and here I've done the same just with a path. And here I've made a little desk setup using the spruce shelves as a little curved table, and I used the mangrove shelf as a little backboard on the chair. But you can't actually place stuff on top, so if you do want to use this table design instead, I've used the new copper golem statue to make it look like someone's working on it, like making it. And this is a design I found on Reddit. If I find it I will put in the description. This meant to look like metal bars in a construction site, which could be really useful, and these colours work the best for it really. Now next to it is another design I found on Reddit, and I will put that in the description if I can find it, but it's just a pretty simple decorative door design but really expensive with a heavy corset. And next to it there is a garage door design. I've used glass to be handles, but I think it looks a bit better without it actually now I think about it, but you can put those in if you really want it, but it's a really simple design. And by here I've got a little kitchen setup. I've used the shelves with pale oak buttons to make little drawers, I guess you'd hold out, or cupboards, I don't know how you would describe it. Oops, I accidentally popped that off. And I've got them on the bottom as well, and I've made little salt and ketchup and mustard bottles using candles, and it's a pretty simple design which would be really useful in the build. And I've used a table design using spruce shelves. And here is a huge, well, it's big, but it's pretty easy house I made. Didn't take me too long, but you can see I've just got a lot of designs around. I didn't do the full interior, but just for the purpose of this video I'm going to show you some stuff. I used oak shelves as shutters. They work really well, especially with the lines in between them, and I've used them on the bottom. I've got a little gate using the jungle shelves and the oak shelves, and I guess I could make this one open as well, but just for variety I made this one closed as well. But yeah, I've got a mini roulette table, I suppose. It's kind of cut in half, but we just got the spinny bit. And I've got this chair design using the bamboo shelf on top of some scaffolding, whereas beforehand we would have had to use bamboo trapdoors, which just doesn't look too good. You can see it's see-through, it looks kind of cheap. But now with the bamboo shelves you can actually get a little bit of curve into it and it looks quite nice. And with the scaffolding you can actually sit inside of it if you wanted to. And I've used the boot shelves all around the building as a little foundation, I guess, and I've got the garage door which I used over there, and the spruce shelf which I also used over there. Now around the side I've actually got a door you can actually use. I've got a little desk set up here. I've used the spruce to cover up a banner on top of, well, under a slab, which kind of looks like a printer. And then I've got a pretty simple chair design using the mangrove slab and the shelf on the back. Here I've used the birch shelves as room dividers for the kitchen, which is a similar design to the one I showed you on the outside, using the buttons as cupboards. And I've got the chimney design I used at the start of the video out here, which is pretty tall. And I've got some hidden lighting behind a painting, which works pretty well just to light up the build a bit. And over here I have used the spruce shelves as railing for the build. I don't know why these three are there, let me just get rid of those. But they work quite well as just handles, and you can see the there at the top as well. And if we go into the garage you can see the door. I've used the shelves to make a little bit of a curve by there, which is nice. And I've used them for the sides of the shelves by here with the mangrove, which look quite nice just to hold tools and stuff. And obviously they're used for the garage door. By here I have made the little dining table. I've used the spruce shelves as the back of the chairs, and they have like a little slot for your head to go in, I guess, which is quite nice because obviously before we would have had to use the trapdoors, which just don't really look as good, but now we've got the shelves, they look a lot better. And on this wall over here I have made a little bookcase design using the shelves as a little base to hold some enchanted books. And if you look behind, there's actually some hidden lights with sea lanterns because the shelves are transparent, which just lights up the room a bit more. And now if we actually go to the second floor, by here I've made the bathroom using the pale oak shelves as a little bathtub design. I'm not sure if I prefer the ones with the quartz waterlogged stairs, but in this corner I've got a little wooden composter toilet design. And originally I was going to use spruce shelves, but they didn't really work because they don't open and close like a trapdoor, which, you know, is pretty useful for a toilet. But here I've got a little desk design, I guess, with a pale oak, and I've got a sink inside with a mirror. There's the design if you want to use it, and you can pause it if you need to. And over here is the bedroom. I got quite a lot of stuff in here. I've used the dark oak shelf as a little rim for like speakers on this desk, and I've made some posters with some banners. Here's the design if you want to copy them. The one on the left is just the Illager banner. And here's the bed design I wanted to show you. I've just used some different red blocks surrounded by some dark oak shelves, which works as a nice little rim. And then I've used the disc display at the top, which looks really nice for this. And I think that's about everything I've got to show you today. Let me just go outside. Oh no, there is one more thing actually. If we go outside, I've got this little outdoor table design, and I've used a mangrove chair as well. And if we go around, we've got the chimney by here, which is really nice and tall. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Comment because more videos coming soon. Goodbye.